um projeto de investigação sobre Comunicar, Ciência, um projeto de investigação liderado pela professora Vellay, a quem obviamente cumprimento e agradeço, e também dizer do prazer e da honra que a Universidade tem, a Faculdade de Artes e Letras e o LabCom. Eu sou reitor há muito pouco tempo, para aqueles que não sabem, mas já sou há muitos anos o diretor do LabCom, e, portanto é uma dupla satisfação. Me sinto naturalmente em casa, mas é com dupla satisfação que o Professor de Estado do Ensino Superior, que como académico e como professor tem dedicado muita importância a esta área da bibliometria e da problemática que está em causa. Portanto, bem-ajas, Sr. Secretário de Estado, por estar presente, muito nos honra. E, portanto, também dizer a minha satisfação da ação que a Faculdade tem tido sempre este processo de apoiar as iniciativas que o LabCom organiza. Tem sido um apoio não só ativo, mas quase tão óbvio, que é como o ar que respiramos. E, portanto, eu agradeço também à Faculdade de Artes e Letras e dizer que agora, mudando de registro, que a reitoria obviamente também apoiará sempre estas iniciativas.
Então, eu queria começar por cumprimentar o Sr. Secretário de Estado do Ensino Superior, agradecer a sua presença, que é uma honra, cumprimentar também o Sr. Reitor e agradecer a sua presença. Como disse o Sr. Reitor, a Faculdade de Artes e Letras, enquanto instituição, tem tido, de facto, sempre a preocupação de apoiar as iniciativas das suas unidades de investigação. Nós, neste momento, temos duas unidades de investigação classificadas como very good pela Universidade, o LabCom, o Laboratório de Comunicação Online, na área da comunicação, e o Instituto de Filosofia Prática, na área da filosofia prática. Em particular, este projeto é um projeto que nos interessa muito porque a questão da publicação científica, sendo uma questão crucial em todos os domínios científicos, é uma questão ainda mais crucial, diria eu, no domínio das artes e das humanidades. As artes e humanidades têm características muito específicas, têm formas de publicação que, em certa medida, se diferenciam das chamadas art science, não é? No entanto, não podem ficar para trás neste processo, que é o processo de publicação científica. A publicação é lá muito vista como uma característica essencial da ciência, não é? Para não irmos mais longe, vamos pensarmos no Galileu e no Descartes, que justamente tiveram como uma das suas preocupações essenciais publicar. Curiosamente, até para serem mais lidos, deixaram de publicar em latim e passaram a publicar em vernáculo, que é uma coisa curiosa porque contraria aquela ideia de que a língua franca só tem vantagens, não é? Pelo contrário, eles viam na língua franca desvantagens, porque sendo a língua dos sábios, era a língua de um certo tipo de sábios, no caso, os aristotélicos e os escolásticos. E, portanto, renovar também os meus cumprimentos à professora Anabela Gardim, a mim próprio, porque eu também sou investigador, neste projeto, e dizer também, fazer uma evocação pessoal, que tivemos o prazer de conhecer o Sr. Secretário, eu e a professora Anabela Gardim, tivemos o grato prazer de conhecer o Sr. Secretário de Estado do Ensino Superior, que ainda não sabíamos que viria a ser, no ano passado, numa conferência que houve em Santiago de Compostela, na Escola Nacional de Administração, e depois de fazermos a nossa apresentação, tivemos a conversar exatamente com o Sr. Secretário de Estado, que estava a assistir, e, portanto, também tínhamos essa referência pessoal. Renovar as minhas boas-vindas a todos os participantes, desejar que sejam um bom dia de trabalho e que também sejam minimamente felizes aqui na que vem, na Universidade da Beira, que também é uma coisa importante. Muito bem.
Pois, esta é a minha vez. Queria agradecer o convite e dizer que o Secretário de Estado não foi convidado. Não é? E, portanto, aqui a cadeira é que está fora do sítio. Mas, de qualquer maneira, dizer do meu gosto em estar aqui. E a segunda vez que venho, em pouco tempo, a única, acho que nem ao Porto fui 2 vezes, quase, da Universidade. Dizer que o prazer que tenho de estar aqui e dizer a importância que julgo ter o que vai ser aqui discutido, quer na componente de comunicação em si, quer na componente se quiserem, da avaliação da comunicação, estatísticas da comunicação. Na parte, como foi dito, na parte de ciências mais convencionais, das ciências às vezes duras, há uma prática que se foi estabelecendo desde o século XVII e que foi mais ou menos estabilizando, ser consensual, e que em Portugal chegou às vezes até com força e rigidez, talvez até demais. Na parte das ciências das outras áreas do conhecimento, a situação é mais complicada e aí acho que estamos nitidamente atrasados em relação a outros países que se preocuparam já, quer em termos de políticas nacionais, quer em termos de gestão institucional, se preocuparam já em dar meios, criar meios para que a atividade dos investigadores nessas áreas fosse também exibida, fosse também visível. E creio que esse atraso tem de ser recuperado rapidamente e, portanto, o meu desafio nessa área seria de que conseguíssemos chegar a dar alguns passos, depois não se fazem de um momento para o outro, dar alguns passos no sentido de também poder criar os critérios, criar os instrumentos para premiar quem faz o trabalho e quem faz um trabalho que seja reconhecido como um trabalho de qualidade nessas áreas, que me parece muito importante e necessário, não é? O facto de estarmos aqui na Covilhã é um luxo, não é? Nesta serenidade e os parabéns aos organizadores e aos coordenadores e investigadores do centro pelo trabalho que vêm fazendo aqui e deixo ficar o estímulo para que o trabalho possa continuar hoje a todos os que estão nesta jornada e depois a todos os que ficam, para que o trabalho possa continuar e ganhar e dar essa visibilidade necessária também às instituições do interior que todos sabemos têm dificuldades, já não é de acesso, porque as fachadas estão lá, o nevoeiro nem sempre está, de maneira que também deixa chegar, mas às vezes deixa chegar e deixa partir ainda mais facilmente e, portanto, é necessário que ocupemos o nosso território físico e intelectual e estimular a que isso aconteça plenamente. Muito obrigado e uma boa jornada. Infelizmente não vou acompanhar até ao fim, porque vou passar a secretário de Estado ao meio-dia, mas até lá terei muito gosto em estar ali sentado daquele lado a acompanhar o nosso trabalho. Obrigado.
Muito bom dia a todos, muito obrigada por terem vindo. Vamos dar início ao primeiro painel desta conferência, que se chama Trends in Publishing Science. Eu poderia traduzir por tendências na publicação de ciência. E este painel conta com 2 convidados, David Ninho, da Elsevier, e o Sebastien Vellay, que está aqui ao meu Vellay, que está aqui ao meu lado e que será o primeiro a fazer a sua intervenção. O Sebastien é Country Manager na Thomson Reuters, e eu penso que para a área de Portugal, não é?
Português, espanhol.
Portugal e Espanha e é especialista em bibliometria, política científica e ciências da informação. Eu vou só fazer uma nota a respeito do David Minho, que não se encontra aqui. Ele ontem informou-nos que tinha tido um acidente doméstico e que, não sendo grave, já não se poderia deslocar à Covilhã. Então, após a intervenção do Sebastien, tentaremos ligar por videoconferência para o David Minho. Se isso não for possível, ontem fizemos um teste e correu muito bem e a ligação estava bastante razoável. Se isso não for possível, iremos para Coffee Break muito mais cedo, mas espero que não. Temos também a oportunidade de ouvir o David. Então eu passo a palavra ao Sebastien, a quem agradeço muito a sua vinda aqui.
Muito obrigado.
Quero apresentar em português, em inglês? Como preferir? Ok, it's
Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, no falo português. I propose to go straight in English. Well, so thank you all to come today to assist to this presentation. So the title today is a new metrics on the power of citation analysis, identifying research trends and define scientific policy. And we could also call it beyond the impact factor. Okay? The idea today is to show you how with basic metrics we can start with a big picture and then drill down into each specific area and take strategic decisions, basically. So from Thomson Reuters we provide many tools and content and services, not only tools but also consultancy, and for funding agencies, product development, collaboration. We are very flexible solutions, and we can help you in many different ways. It depends really. All the solutions are customized, and we use, of course, Web of Science data. We can also keep some data out of Web of Science and help you then to take the best decisions. So let's start with what I call beyond the impact factor. This is the frequency citation rate of the New England Journal of Medicine. It's important to always keep in mind that the impact factor is an average. And in this case, you can see the median is 13% for the New England Journal of Medicine in terms of citation. It means that you have very few papers highly cited and thousands of papers, very few cited, and almost some of them with 0 citations. I explain this because many times people accumulate impact factor, and we don't have to forget that the impact factor is an indicator we have created to calculate the impact of a journal, and not specifically of an author or an institution. And this is the subject of what we are going to see after this, is how we can help you to analyze deeply the real impact of a researcher or an institution. Well, just a subliminal image, if some of you have read a Nature article published last week, it was about this. It seems that there is always a confusion. People hear the word impact and then they think impact factor. But there are many other impacts, and this is what we're going to show. This is the citation window of the impact factor. So just to remind you, the impact factor calculates the total of citations received in the last year regarding the previous 2 years. Okay? So this, for example, for the impact factor published in 2007, we looked in 2006 how the papers from 2004 and 2005 have been cited. So you can see in cell biology, for example, the citations increase very rapidly in comparison to other areas like economy or mathematics. The citation trend is more smooth and takes more time. So the maturity, for example, for a citation in economy is after 4 years, and it keeps sustainable. When you compare in cell biology after 2 years, it's already, this kind of trends already disappear. So what we propose is to make more specific analysis at the level of the papers. So here you have an example of a record from Web of Science. So it's important to keep in mind that we systematically index all the authors on all the affiliation. You know that for a few period of time, for example, Medline was only indexing the first author. So when you try to do bibliometry, if you have holes in the data, it's completely irrelevant. So the quality of the data is very important. So we systematically index the authors, we link them. You know, since 2008, you see the small figures here. We link to the affiliation. So this is also very powerful because we can pre-populate, identify very easily since 2008 the author and its affiliation. And we update, of course, the time cited, and we manually index also the funding data. And this is really a manual work because you have to go up to the paper, identify in the acknowledgements to identify this information. So, what kind of indicators exist? Well, for example, you have various normalized indicators, of course, which helps you to really identify your real impact. So, in this case, for example, we have a paper published in hematology with 40 citations. Does anybody think here if it's good or bad, or is it? No idea. So basically, this paper, it's difficult to know if it has a positive impact or not. What we do is that we look at the format. In this case, it's an article. We look at the category, we look at the journal, we look at the year of the publication. So in this case, for example, for this first calculation, we know that, because this is an article from Blood, published in 2004, for each publication published, for each article published in Blood in 2004, we know that the average of citations for each document is of 34.30 citations. We take these data from Web of Science. Then we look at the current level of citations received by this paper, and by a simple division, we know that this paper is 17%, has received 17% more citations than expected in this journal regarding the format and the year of publication. And the even more interesting one is the so-called Crown indicator. And basically, here what we do is the same methodology regarding of the world average of citations in the category. So instead of the journal, which is Blood, we take hematology. You know that we have 249 categories in Web of Science. We look at this average, which is in this case 18.83, and we compare to the current citation of this paper, and we know that this paper has been cited more than twice the expected in its category. So, doing this calculation at the level of each paper, then you can aggregate this paper, create clusters of papers for an author, for a whole institution, for a research unit, for a department, and you can then know exactly where is based, how is positioned your author or research unit into the world well, into your area worldwide. Of course, also you can do the percentile. So the percentile is the scale from 0 to 100. You already know this with the essential science indicators. You can find the top highly cited papers, and in this case, so you know this paper is in the top 13% most cited in its area. Okay, so what this kind of data provides you? Well, you can do some trend analysis. So for example, here we have a comparison based of the world, comparing Brazil, Spain, Portugal and France and the EU 27. The red line is the world average, and you see that Portugal, and it's a very interesting curve we have with Portugal, because we see that in 2010 the impact has dropped slightly, even that it was still increasing. Since 2006, for each paper published in Portugal, the citation rate is higher than the expected. And there has been a slight drop in 2010, but a sudden increase for the two last years. If you look at Brazil, it's a very interesting curve. You see that it's decreasing and slightly now increasing for the last 5 years. The explanation is very easy there, is because Brazil is growing a lot. They are building universities, so they are increasing the output considerably, to, of course, with a negative impact on the negative effect on the impact. But this will now, their concern first is to publish a lot, then they will concern about the quality. And so this was the big picture. So now, for example, we can dip a little more at the Portuguese level. So based on the assertion science indicator category, we calculate then you can see here for the consolidated last 5 years the output for each category from Portugal. So chemistry, clinical medicine, physics, engineering, these are the areas where you publish more. And very interesting to identify that in physics, the impact of the production from Portugal is almost 40% higher than the expected. And other area to identify, for example, that we can call as a possible way of improvement is agriculture. In agriculture science, the publications also reach a very high impact, and we can also identify which is, I think it's neuroscience? Yes, neuroscience as well. So, this is a very short and quick analysis. It does not pretend to be exhaustive. It's just to give a quick picture. But for example, identifying here that in agriculture there is a potential way of development, you can do then when you can build a data set of all the data from your institution, research unit or country, and then drill down there to really identify who are the collaborators that help, who are the researchers that help to get such high impact. You can look at the international collaboration. It's very easy. In the affiliation, when there is at least one author which is not from Portugal, it means that this is an international collaboration. So you can just then restrain to this small set of papers with international collaborators and identify also its impact. This kind of tool is very helpful for research, for policymakers. Well, I regularly meet research vice chancellors or nutrition analysts, and here they see a good way of collaboration and basically at the end when you need to invest and to invest with the most, you have to really pay attention where you invest this budget. It's a good tool to make the less risky decisions. So you can also analyze, benchmark your institutions with other data, for example, than Web of Science. For example, we recollect data from the proper institution with a reputational survey. The reputation is always very criticized, and of course it's a subjective information. But it's very important, especially at the time to invest in a research project. A name always makes more comfortable, a known name makes always more comfortable to invest. Just to give, to exaggerate, MIT or Harvard gives confidence for an investor. So what we do, we recollect the data, and then it gives ponderate information, and you can get, this is a few examples of the indicators you can get. So papers per million resource income, just total of citations, or papers per academic staff. And here what you can see is a comparison of Porto and Dominio. And so you can see clearly in total of citations, University of Porto is higher. And so this kind of data, these are the data used by the Times Higher Education ranking. So what we recollect these data and we create these indicators, and 13 of these indicators are used by the Times Higher Education ranking. Also, we provide the data for the Shanghai ranking and many others. So we did the countries. We have done Portugal, few institutions, and let's go to the author now. So, for example, here. Okay. So you can see this is just a list of authors from a specific data set and from an institution. You can see that they both have 16 Web of Science documents. This author in computer science has received 300 citations, and this one in medicine 800. So, and of course, you can see the H index is different as well. Then, obviously, he has received more citations. So now, if you forget this, if you stay here, forget this, you will obviously think that this author is clearly better. Okay? It's always important. We do not pretend these indicators don't say there is quality behind, but what we pretend is we give indicators that help to be even closer to give more sign of potential quality, okay, which the impact factor in its current state is also providing, but not at this granular level. So here you can see that computer science and medicine, well, they have received very different citations, but if you go at the journal expected citations, clearly this author in computer science has an impact really higher than this author in medicine, with 3.14 against 2.27. And in the category, they have approximately the same impact. Just helps to change the angle, just to change the view. Then you can see these results in beautiful graphs. So you can see the total of, just in a visual way, see the best authors. The most active authors. Or you can see in a department, or let's say research unit, for example, analyze in which category there are more publication. You can analyze the collaboration. So here is an example with CSIC from Spain, and I need a data set to reproduce this. So I've not been able to do a specific thing at all for Portugal. So basically, what it's showing is that CSIC has the highest quality, well, the highest impact with the Max Planck, of course, but you see this color means more category expected. But the closest collaboration are here, and the raw line means that there is a lot of there is here. This means that there is a lot of collaborators. This means that there is a lot of papers. And this color means the impact is high. So it's a visual way to see clearly where you're based. You can also then, there are some profiling now that we are at the author level. So this is basically that we have a tool inside, certainly some of you have heard about, and which is migrating now, and we are well, this is what you are seeing now is the new visualization. So we can create a profile for each researcher. And we do even more. You know, who went in sciencewatch.com at least the last 6 months? Nobody? Sciencewatch.com? Okay. So ScienceWatch is a free website. We provide information about science trends. So, for example, we predict the Nobels. I don't know if you've heard about. And this year we are very successful. Not in the fact that, so each year we do a list of nominees. All the Nobels from this year have been nominated over the previous years with the maximum window of 4 years. So obviously it's very difficult when we do the list to get it just the same year, but it shows that the citations really help to identify people who identify who are at the front of the research, basically. About front research, here also you can download some reports like this one. Front research, of course, is very interesting. It's you know, this methodology showing that there is always behind all kind of research a few core of publications that are cited. If you look at the second or third level of citations, there is always a core of papers which are at the forefront of the research. So in this area, you can, I really invite you to go to sciencewatch.com and for example, download this one, and you can identify in the main 10 categories in science, which are now the trendy topics, basically, which are the most active, and see this core of papers that identify a real trend, with the possibility to get it going down in the next few years. It doesn't mean that this is a revolutionary research, but it shows that something is happening here. As you can see in this one about neglected tropical diseases, here there was a study done using the keywords of Web of Science. So until 2000, HIV and cancer was receiving 80% of the investments in diseases. So and since 2000, the dengue has risen in the keywords. In 2005, the World Health Organization has started to increase its investments in dengue. So 5 years ago, somebody who would have identified this increase in this area, in this research area, which is dengue, would have been ready to receive all the funds from this organization. And researcher ID, there is I'm just showing this because it's very important to know that you can consolidate the author names under the Web of Knowledge platform. You know, and already do some short analysis of your citation window, or you get in one click your H-index, or you can also see with the Google application your collaborations in the map. And finally, there are things you can do with the Web of Science data, and other things you can do under different license. So there is a web service Lite that you can all use. It's an application to download the bibliographic data from Web of Science to populate an institutional repository. There is the article match retrieval. giving also citations, abstract, but this is only to display time cited on local websites, just to inform on the journal impact factor. There is a researcher ID application, so from one institution you can create from one institution, so yes, you can yourself create all the researcher IDs of your researchers, and the web service premium, which is included into a license, for example, within Cites, which is our bibliometric tool to go beyond the impact factor and go deeper in the analysis and benchmark your institution. So in addition to this, you can use the web service premium, which allows you full download of records with all the normalized indicators and also uploaded in all the systems you want. And that's it. Do you have questions? Yes?
Yes. I have a question. Sorry.
I'm sorry for abandoning you here. More there.
In fact, I have two questions correlated. One is operational and the other is more substantive. The operational one is, my name is Pedro Andrade, I'm a sociologist and I'm a researcher in the University of New York. I'm trying to do bibliometrics of my colleagues in the sociology of communication, and I work with the H-index, which is maybe a better metric because it has the performance, the scientific productivity in a way, the articles we are writing, but at the same time the citations which are the impact that our articles have. So it seems more complex that, for instance, the impact factor that is only for citations. And my question is, my operational question is it possible to calculate the average of the H-index of the researchers? Because we find in our center, as maybe in other centers, that there is some people that get very high indexes and others less of these measures. And the explanation is simple, because very often these people are connected with computing sciences or psychology and life sciences and so on. And the other ones that are in social sciences have less grades. So my first question is it possible to calculate this average to show a picture of the research center and minimize in some way this discrepancy between social science researchers and the other ones? And the second question, and very quickly, is Web of Science or IZ going to include more social sciences journals, which are very important. I had to use Scopus and Google Scholar to find Scopus, for instance, has more social sciences journals, and Google Scholar has more languages represented beyond of the English, and it has much more sources like multimedia sources, blog content, social networks, content, Facebook contributions, and so on.
Well, thank you for your question. Sorry, your name is?
Pedro Andrade.
Well, the first, let me answer in the order. So about the H-index, I'm not sure I understood correctly the questions, but if your question was that you can do an average of the H-index across all the categories, some institution already does this. I mean, a whole university looks at its H-index, doing an analysis from Web of Science. So at some point, it's an indicator, but with the H-index, you always have to be careful that the most years of publications, the deeper it is, and the most frequently people cite in the area, the highest it is. So there are some initiatives just looking only on the last 5 or 10 years to compare more fairly. Or you can compare the H index between people of the same category, but well, if your objective is to know exactly the real impact of your research, I would recommend you go to the normalized indicators that we have mentioned previously. And about the inclusion of social science journals, indeed, we know people want more content. There is one thing, you know, that we are selective in our approach, and so also one of the points, you know, is the originality of the research, and so we will not include another journal about economy or education. I mean, we really need to find a new point, a new originality in the research trend. Now, it's true that we have an incentive to include in the coming years more local journals, and especially it concerns more social science journals, because in hard science is almost the same everywhere in the world, of course. Social science gets more specificity in each country, and also, I know that in Portugal, from the contact, when I talk to researchers, I realized maybe there is also a lack of information. Many people don't dare just to submit their journals. We will not go for them. There is all a process to follow and to fulfill a form online, and so if you want, then we can discuss. I will give you all the information. The point is that Portuguese people, I mean, also have to submit their journals. I think there was a first question. Yes.
Je vais parler en français.
D'accord.
Pour nous déposer d'impact.
Can you stand up, please, because we can see you.
Je pense
Thank you.
que vous êtes francophone, n'est-ce pas?
Oui. Sorry about my accent.
Et on peut aussi communiquer faire science et communiquer la science en français. Et je m'appelle Sebastien Vellay, je suis portugaise. Et je suis d'une de lettres. J'ai un doctorat en littérature, précisément un domaine où la question d'évaluer la science fait débat. L'effort que je fais pendant que je vous écoutais et j'essayais de comprendre tous les schémas que vous présentiez est la suivante. Je pense qu'on fait ici un effort pas de communiquer la science, mais d'évaluer la science. Et ce sont deux choses complètement différentes, surtout en ce qui concerne ce domaine qui est la littérature, qui précisément a moins d'espace dans la ligne, les index, Scopus, ISIS, etc. Je vais faire un exemple paradoxal. Parfois, les paradoxes nous aident aussi à penser. Si Camoin, au XIe siècle, au XVIe siècle, était évalué par les index, peut-être il n'écrirait pas Lusíadas, parce que sa lyrique n'aurait pas les index nécessaires pour le faire, pour l'avoir, l'émotion de après écrire son épopée. C'est-à-dire, à qui profite, vous avez utilisé un mot qui est investissement. Et effectivement, pour avoir cet impact, il faut investir en ces articles. À qui fait profit cette question d'évaluer? C'est-à-dire, notre effort est celui de faire science ou de nous évaluer. Est-ce que la science que nous faisons est en train de souffrir à moyen ou à long terme? Quelques sciences, je parle aussi des sciences exactes, en cette obsession d'être évaluée. Par exemple, quand vous avez parlé, il faut savoir combien de personnes nous citent, où nous citent. Est-ce que cela vaut quelque chose pour la science que nous faisons, ou c'est seulement une forme de satisfaire nos égos scientifiques?
Muito obrigada,
Merci.
Cristina. Muito obrigada,
De-
professora Cristina.
Cette question devait être faite en français, c'est sûr.
Vous pouvez répondre en français.
Oui, je réponds en français alors. Non, en premier lieu,
Ou en anglais, je comprends aussi l'anglais.
Oui.
C'est seulement une forme de faire un effort d'éloignement de cette sorte d'idée qu'on peut seulement faire bonne science en anglais.
merci.
Parce que j'ai compris ce que ça veut dire.
Voilà, je peux répondre en français, mais principalement, je comprends votre domaine de la recherche étant la littérature. Effectivement, c'est un domaine qui est plus culturel que scientifique, et c'est un rapport très différent à la recherche. Nous ne prétendons pas remplacer à aucun moment. Je veux dire, ce que vous voyez ici, c'est une méthodologie pour analyser l'impact et pour pouvoir orienter des politiques scientifiques. À partir de cela, dans un domaine tel que la littérature, il y a bien d'autres systèmes. Il y a les peer review, il y a toujours à un certain point, l'humain doit rentrer évidemment et prendre des décisions et évaluer la vraie qualité de la recherche. La bibliométrie, comme j'ai expliqué, j'ai bien insisté, ne prétend pas non plus identifier la qualité, et les indicateurs présentés veulent se rapprocher le plus possible d'un possible signe de qualité. Mais ce n'est pas un outil qui doit être utilisé à 100% pour prendre des décisions. Et bien entendu, la littérature aide aussi à rêver, à pouvoir continuer à avoir des idées, et doit bien évidemment continuer. Mais dans ce domaine précis aussi, il y a aussi les sciences dures qui doivent aider à développer la technologie et continuer. C'est une balance.
Thank you, Sebastian. I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions.
My name is Rodrigo Costas, Leiden University, the Netherlands, but I'm not going to ask my question in Dutch.
Thank you.
I actually have a few questions for you, and I have a question for Penny. So for you is, well, I like your presentation. I'm happy to see that you take on board all the research that you have been doing in the bibliometric field that you are using for your purpose. I think that's a good thing. My question is about the funding data that you mentioned in your presentation, because you said that you only index information when you find funding information in the paper.
Exactly.
I would say, why you don't simply index all the acknowledgements of all the papers and leave for later the indexing of the funding organizations? Because it may happen that you fail in that step of detecting the funding organization, and then if you want to retrieve again that funding organization in the paper, then you have to redo the whole work again. Do you understand what I mean? So if you scan the paper and you detect that there is an acknowledgement, the second step you do is there a funding organization here mentioned? And then, yeah, if you in that step you fail,
What? No, I'm sorry, I don't. Who fails?
The indexers. The indexers fail in detecting that, for example, a paper has an acknowledgement to the FCT in Portugal. And then that acknowledgement is not indexed at all.
Well, of course, you might always have, I mean, mistakes, errors, especially because it.
But what I'm saying is, if you index the whole acknowledgement, so the whole text, because you do that, if there is a funding organization in the acknowledgement, you index the whole text. I would say just simply index the whole text, and then later on, you or if experts implement can extract information. Because the problem with that data is that the funding organizations appear in many different forms.
Yes, exactly.
So it's easy to miss those, to miss some of them, the less frequent variants.
Well,
and for us, for the researchers, it's very good to have this text, because we are discovering that in those texts there are people mentioned, there are other types of organizations mentioned, and they can open other types of analysis, like the possibilities of seeing if scholars are not only cited, but also acknowledged. And they could open a new dimension of analysis. I saw that in your figure, also when you were showing the trends, you included the last year, so 2011, 2012. That can be a problem because for 2012, so we're still in 2013, so it's not, you don't have a full year for citations. So that can affect the normalized indicators, and that can explain what, for all the units you have this.
It might explain, but however, it's an average, you know. So it's for everybody the same time window.
Yeah, that's true in that sense. Yeah, it's okay. But for example, if you have a very short citation window, you have the effect of outliers. So you have more outliers affecting the average.
This is why I've consolidated last 5 years. The one for all Portugal. I did 2007, 2011.
Yeah, that's good. But then even for the last year you have a full citation year. And when you were showing the data on the individuals, you mentioned this difference between the computer guy and the other guy. You say in the same average normalized indicators. But in that case, you can also have the effect of outliers. So you have to be aware of that. Maybe the computer guy has a very highly cited paper that's influencing the whole average.
But it's important to say that it's an average. So everybody is always at the same on the same timeline, and so there is no.
Yeah, okay, but the problem is that you may have one single very highly cited papers, all the other papers not cited, and still your average is very high.
Of course, but it means that you have at least one, is possible, yes, that one paper has been very, very highly cited, which makes then the average higher. However, when you do the analysis, so indeed, it shows that this author had a very highly cited paper. So it shows that there has been a very fruitful paper.
Okay, but you have relatively...
You can always...
A relatively easy indicator is the percentage of highly cited publications. And
then as I explained, then you can always drill down. I mean, you see a higher expected average, and you can always then drill down and then and see, there is a very high paper. Then you go and you see it's maybe a paper with 500 authors. So, and then you can discount. So it's not an exact science in the beginning. Biometry is also social science. So it's just to show a trend, identify possible increase, possible trends, and drill down and take decisions to analyze. Okay. So if I go back to your first question, which is about the funding data, well, as 70% of the records in Web of Science have a funding data, and this 70% is because also there are papers that are not funded. You might have identified that at the moment that some acknowledgement was not appearing. Unfortunately, this can happen. We process more than 2 million records every day, so this kind of information, as I told you, it's manual, and so let's say that at 99.90% is perfect, and maybe you have identified this 0.1, which has failed. However, this is a relative value we have. We track the funding agencies behind the papers and help for also to create new indicators, as you said. But it is true that there is still a problem of unification of the funding agencies with the variants we are perfectly aware of and working on this. Yes, this is
So my suggestion is why you can simply change the order of the steps. You first detect all the acknowledgements in the papers with this manual indexing, and then you can leave for later the identification of the funding organizations. But you have the data, because then it's in the database.
Well, we always have we have the papers, the full text is there.
So then you have to do the step again if you have missed that acknowledgement. It's a suggestion.
No, it's a process, interesting process idea. I could submit internally, of course.
And I'm interested why you are using the H index. Because you said that this
why
using the H index? Yeah, why he's using the H index?
Yeah, let me first say one thing. I'm a sociologist, but I'm very interested in multimedia methodologies and documentary and information science instruments. And one thing that we are working with is trying to construct a sociology that takes in account the semantic instruments of Web3, not just Web2 but Web3. For instance, Google is using semantic engines, and Facebook now is using, with all the critics that we can make to Facebook as well in that aspect. But the thing is, our final goal is to try to use semantic instruments for the research in sociology, and I'd like as well to, I'm answering to your question, but I'd like to as well to put this question: why Thomson isn't using these semantic instruments like search engines that maybe could bring the quality that we are so interested, not only social sciences, but I'm sure that life sciences are interested. And just to answer your question, H-index, as you know, H-index has very different incarnations. There's the individual H-index, there's the contemporary H-index, that's the H-index for journals and so on. H-index maybe it's a more complete instrument because it gives a combination of your scientific productivity, like I was saying first, that is the articles that you wrote. But if you only measure these, you just get your personal work, your individual work, and not the impact that this work has in society. And so, in society and in community societies and in the civil society. So, maybe it's better to use this index because it gives as well the citations. But, this being said, I'm very critical about the H-index. I'm trying to use G-index, which is another thing for the top cited articles. And I'm trying as well very, very seriously to see how are the potentialities of Scopus as more social science articles, like I was saying, and as well Google Scholar. And what I think it's even more important, and I'm finishing with this thing, there was the French Academy did a meeting in 2011 where they were putting some interesting questions. For instance, if the researchers themselves can construct their own indexes, first thing. Other thing is how to measure innovation, because innovation is very connected with quality. Innovation doesn't answer all the questions. There is innovation is the creativity applied to the social, but there's these two are examples of interesting directions.
Well,
thank you, Sebastien. Do you think you can answer in 5 minutes, please?
Oh yes, in 2 seconds. Just to measure innovation, for example, we have a Derwent Innovation Index, which is a patent database tracking citations as well, and it's a forecast vision on long term. We will in the future also do similar analysis looking at patent citations. And about search engine of knowledge, I want to remind you it's the most robust in the market. we have, because we merge all the descriptors, all the zeros in one. So when you do a search in all database, you have the mesh from Medline, the descriptors from Web of Science, you have all the other databases, BIOSys with its descriptors. We merge all these descriptors in one robust research tree, which gives the most relevant results in your search strategy.
Thank you very much, Sebastian.
Thank you very
We will
much.
now try to